boys, I think I finally found a life hack that's going to get you motivated enough, long enough to actually make any real progress, right? You hear about people talking about discipline and how that's going to get you far. And they're right. Like, you're not going to get anywhere without discipline. But you need motivated to get you going, right? To get you going long enough to build the habit. And especially if you're a young man in this day and age where you're filled with distractions and you're in an environment that's not conducive to productivity, it can get really difficult, right? So I think I found a life hack. I was listening to a Dr. Andrew Huberman podcast. He was on the Jocko Willing podcast, and it's a 5 hour long podcast. I don't think any of you guys are going to go and want to listen to that. But basically, he's a neuroscientist, and he was explaining like how the brain works, etc., etc. And you hear a lot of people like with bro science and telling you certain things like instant gratification. But when you hear it from a neuroscientist telling you how like your brain works and the neural pathways like fire to get you to do something, it's different, right? Because it's like that's science, like it's proven. So I'm just going to explain to you what I learned in the podcast. And the first point that I really took notice of was that dopamine is not a pleasure receptor or a hormone, right? Because you hear about dopamine, instant gratification, dopamine, etc. You think like dopamine is what you get when you do something nice, but what dopamine is, it's a motivation hormone, right? So you don't get the dopamine from doing what you're doing. You get it from anticipating what you're going to do. So they basically did a study with 2 rats, right? One of them was just normal, and then the other one they completely suppressed the dopamine receptors, right? So they completely killed off his motivation hormone, and they started feeding them like water that had sugar in it, so it's like quite tasty for them. They both drank it quite nicely, quite easily, right? But then what they did was they moved it one rat's pace ahead of them, so just like all they had to do was take like 2 steps to get to it. The normal rat just went up to it and drank it, right, like standard. The other rat did not want to move at all. Like, guys, I'm talking like a rat's pace ahead of him. All they had to do was take 2 steps to go drink like the water and sugar, and it wanted it, but the dopamine receptors were completely shut off, so it couldn't do anything. It didn't feel like doing it. Like something as simple as that. And you would think like, when you think about it with what happens in real life, like you think about something simple like going and doing a workout, whatever, and when you're completely like demotivated, you don't even want to do like the simple things, right? And this study just like completely showed it, right? So the main takeaway from this study was that dopamine is not a pleasure receptor. It's a motivation one. And I also learned this when I was reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. Like you can go find it online. It's quite easy to find. He was speaking about the same thing. Like when you're building habits, you don't get the joy from doing the habit. So think about when you're eating, right? If you're about to eat like a really tasty meal, like take note the next time you do it, right? The happiness doesn't really come from having it. The pleasure doesn't come from having it. It comes from the anticipation of having it, right? So the way it would look if it was a graph, right? It would be like if you're about to have like KFC or something really tasty, it would just go up like this. Then as you eat, it goes down a little bit and stays like here. And then afterwards it completely drops down. And then he moved on to talking about unearned dopamine. So you would have heard of this concept more as like instant gratification, right? I'm sure you've heard about that, like doing like the bad habits like porn, eating like really like calorific food that you haven't done anything to earn it, right? He was talking about unearned dopamine, and what he was saying was that graph, right, where it goes up and then it goes down and then it like stays here while you're like enjoying it, and it goes down back to baseline. Baseline is basically where you started. What he was saying was that when you have unearned dopamine, it doesn't go down to baseline, it goes down below baseline, right? So think about like when you're watching porn, for example. It's gonna go up, right? Then you're gonna start watching it and it's gonna stay like here. Then it drops below baseline. Like you feel like terrible after doing it, right? Or when you eat like a really big meal that you were supposed to have, like afterwards you just feel like crap, like when you binge eat, right? And he was talking about that's basically how unearned dopamine works. And he was saying like that's the sort of thing that will completely destroy your motivation. It'll completely destroy it. Like just having things come easy to you. Unearned dopamine will completely destroy your motivation. And like there's no 2 ways about it. You hear about the dopamine detox. That's what people are really talking about, right? Because you've been indulging in all these instant pleasures like so much, you've fried your motivation. You don't feel like doing anything, right? Like you've gone onto the hub and you've like watched stuff. Like you don't feel like going out and like working on yourself for like months, for years on end, or grooming yourself like just to look good so you can go out there and like meet like a real woman, right? You're just gonna go and watch porn again. Like that's what happens with unearned dopamine. And I'm gonna get onto like what I said I was going to tell you, like the life hack you can actually use, and basically what he said in not too many words was that you need random like intermittent rewards. I'm sure you might have heard of this before, but you thought it was like some dumb thing. It's like, oh, it's just another like little life hack or whatever, but it actually works, right? Because what happens is when you're not anticipating like the reward coming and you just randomly get it, like your dopamine goes up and you're motivated, right? And once the thing is done, you don't know when next you're gonna get it, but you're kind of hoping you're gonna get it again, so it keeps you motivated to like work harder, right? And this, like, just imagine when you were a kid, right? And your parents came and were like, oh, we're gonna go get ice cream, right? Like your dopamine receptors like shot up. And what he was saying was that when that happens and you don't get what you were hoping for, so say in this instance, right, you go to the ice cream shop and it's closed, it just goes down. It also goes down like way below baseline, right? Like you've been disappointed. Like it feels really bad, right? And this ties in with like how the slot machine works. This is how slot machines at the gambling sites work, right? It's like Hamza was talking about how the way slot machines work is that if you put in $1, you're gonna get back 75 cents on average, right? Now if it was like consistent the whole time and you put in $1 and you got back 75 cents, you're not going to want to do that, right? It's stupid, right? But then so the gambling people or whatever, they don't set it up that way. They will put it in a way where you put in $1, you'll get like $0. You put in another $1, you get like $0. Then the third time you might get like $20, right? Dopamine receptors, they shoot up, bro. They shoot up, and it gets you excited. And then the next time you lose money again. You keep going though, because you don't know when next you're gonna get like $20 again. Like that's an amazing reward, and you don't know when you're gonna get it. It just keeps you going. And this is exactly how they've set up like the TikTok and the Instagram algorithms. This is exactly why you can't get off, right? And going back to like the $1.75 thing, right? The slot machine, if you were to average it out over like 10 or 20 things, right? You end up putting in $1 and you get out 75 cents, but they've done it over like, they've made it random to make you feel like you're actually getting a reward and you don't know when next you're gonna get it. And this is why you can't get off TikTok and Instagram. Like the way it works is you're not going on and you're seeing like amazing video. That's how you think it would work. If I was to ask you to design an app like that, that's how you would probably try to design it. But that doesn't work, because what Andrew Huberman was saying was that if things were like that, you just basically go and get your fill, and then you're fine, and then you go back to doing whatever you're doing, because it's expected, right? You went in expecting something, you got it, you sort of had an idea of how much of it you wanted, and then you pull back because you've gotten what you wanted, and you know there's going to be more next time. Now the algorithms don't work like this. They would literally set it up like a slot machine. You go in, you get a half decent video, right? Like a 5 out of 10. Then you get a crappy video. Then you get another like half crappy video. Then the next one is an amazing video that you absolutely love, right? Then you keep scrolling and it just continues. It continues. And that's how you find yourself spending 2 hours on the app without knowing where it went, right? Because you don't know when next you're gonna get that hit. Okay, and at the end of the like 2 hour session, you feel worse off than you did at the start, right? That $1 and you get out 75 cents thing, right? Like over that 2 hour period, you feel like crap afterwards. And basically, to get into how you can implement this into your life to get you like motivated, is what he said was that you need to like give yourself like random rewards, right? Like you need to give yourself random rewards, not consistent. This is why like cheat meals or like cheat days, they don't really kind of work, because you expect it, right? You're like, okay, I'm looking forward to the next cheat meal. I know when it's coming. When you don't know when it's coming and at the frequency that it's coming at, like your motivation just goes way up. Like I just use all these examples. I'm hoping like you begin to get an understanding of what I'm trying to say. Like when you don't know when next is gonna come, you're much more motivated, because that hit feels so amazing because you don't know when it's coming. So you need to give yourself like little rewards. Like I'm not gonna like give you like a blueprint of what rewards you should do or whatever, but you figure out what works for you, right? Say maybe you like watching, I don't know, a movie or something. Maybe you like a random day, you just decide, okay, I've done well today, I'm gonna watch a movie. Don't do it like consistently, like, oh, when I do well, I'm gonna watch the movie. Or when I do badly, I'm not gonna watch the movie. Just make it random, right? And you might be thinking to yourself, how am I gonna make it random? It's very difficult to make it random because you're the one who's implementing it. So what he said was like, if you really want to be autistic about it, but this would work. Like you need to get like this autistic about it if you're struggling with motivation. you need to like literally get like a bowl and like put in like a bunch of papers, and like 2/3 of them have like nothing on it, and then the remaining third has got like a reward on it. And then every day you pick it out. Every day you pick it out, and it will do something to you. I'm telling you now, like it will work. So that's basically all I have to say. Like, just implement that. Random rewards, they work. Okay, just try them. Like, I know a lot of you guys are probably like, I get DMs so many times, people asking me how do I get motivated, disciplined, whatever. Try something like this, right? Like, just try it. You never know what it could do for you. All it takes is for you to get consistent for like 2 weeks or like a month, and then you sort of start riding the wave, right? You sort of start being consistent. You get that momentum, and yeah, just implement that. Yeah, that's the video, guys. Let me know in the comments, like, if how it's gonna work for you. Like, DM me on Instagram, like after like 2 weeks or something, and let me know how it's working for you. And make sure you subscribe and turn on post notifications for my next video.